If I told you an anime director is facing harassment online because a show he's directing doesn't look as good as fans hoped it would for reasons entirely out of said director's control, you'd probably say that happens every other week. What's new? Well, nothing, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't talk about it. One Punch Man Season 3 finally revealed its director recently, that being jcstaff regular Shinpei Nagai, and it was accompanied by a whirlwind of controversy and bad faith opinions. You had people complaining about his previous works, you had people misconstruing his words to fit their own agenda, you had people belittling his abilities because he worked on an adult animation, let's call it that, because I'm pretty sure the H word gets you demonetized. You had all sorts of mind-numbingly stupid stuff going on. Now, unfortunately, none of that's new. This One Punch Man situation is simply the newest addition in a long list of targeted harassment campaigns aimed at staff members for all sorts of stupid reasons. Be it animators Dorian Kulo and Kenichiro Aoki receiving hate for simply expressing their opinions about certain projects, be it Sakamoto-Days director Masaki Watanabe getting mocked online, be it AOT Season 4 regular Teruyuki Omine receiving harassment for the show's CG usage, something he had absolutely nothing to do with, mind you. Sadly, that stuff happens all the time. There are an N number of examples out there of anime fans being both egregiously hostile and profoundly stupid, and that's not what this video is about, technically speaking. If I wanted to address this issue of staff members being harassed online, I could do so in 10 seconds. I could just go, you shouldn't harass staff members online regardless of the context, and anyone who does so is a waste of space and oxygen. It's that simple. What this video is about is the underlying cause behind that behavior. It's about why fans felt the need to come out and attack One Punch Man director Shinpei Nagai. It's about how fans today know the most about the art of animation but simultaneously understand it the least. It's about how art to a modern anime fan is just another way of establishing the superiority of their favorite anime over others. It's about how Sakuga discourse online has devolved into digital dick measuring contests, and most importantly, it's about the harm all of that causes. I don't know how I'll structure this video, but let's jump right into it. Make sure to subscribe. Subscribing causes no harm to anyone and it benefits, well, just me, but it would be nice of you. You can also become a member of this channel, you know the drill by now. 2 exclusive videos per month, custom badges, shoutouts and more. Just go down there and press the join button. So, back in the not-too-distant past, casual anime fans didn't give a single solitary f*** about animation quality. They weren't cognizant of that aspect of anime production, and that still holds true today to an extent. If you look at anime reaction channels that are still new to the medium, you'll often see them just sitting there blank-faced, staring at some of the most outlandishly impressive sequences without reacting in any way. The fact that they are witnessing some of the highest peaks of 2D animation doesn't register with them, they don't know and they don't care. That mindset, however, has changed over the years. As time went by, fans went from not caring about the topic of animation at all outside of a few outliers to gaining a basic and complete understanding of animation quality, which they would often attribute to the studio and or the budget. This is unfortunately the stage a vast majority of anime fans are still stuck in. Eventually, some fans realized that neither a wad of cash nor a building has arms and therefore can draw, and started looking into staff members instead, a development that had its pros and cons. Pros because it led to praise being aimed at the right place, that being the artists who go above and beyond to make your favorite anime look good or in some cases exist. And cons because it led to situations like the one I opened this video with. Back on track, that title wasn't clickbait after all. One Punch Man Season 3 is an unfortunate production, we know that. It's very obvious that the team behind it is facing all sorts of issues, including but not limited to a lack of time, and as a result, the final product doesn't look the best, based on the small handful of shots we've seen so far. As such, it's not surprising to see fans of the show being upset. It's to be expected and it's understandable, but the way some of these fans are going about expressing their dissatisfaction is at best very counterproductive. First off, you have the subhuman filth that feels the need to directly attack staff members, director Nagai in this case. They're a lost cause, no point in talking about them. By the way, if you are one of those morons, please consider jumping off the nearest tall structure in a video game. Besides them, we have people who are sympathetic to the situation the team has to face, but at the same time, they are clueless about all of it really. Look, a lot can be said about the committee's decision to entrust Shinpei Nagai, who's not exactly an action director, with the extremely action-heavy One Punch Man, and I will say a lot in the near future, but dismissing him as a downgrade the studio had to make due to adverse production conditions benefits no one. Don't get me wrong, you should be upset, you absolutely should be, but not at the fact that Nagai is leading the project instead of insert superstar director here, that's stupid. What you should be upset at is the fact that Nagai and his team probably won't get to realize their visions due to how scuffed the production is. That's the real problem. There are a bunch of amazing artists involved with One Punch Man Season 3 and chances are none of them will fully get to demonstrate what they are capable of. They won't have the time to put their best foot forward because they'll be too busy working down to the bone to ensure the project exists. That's the problem, and yet no one seems to care. Why, you may ask? Well, here's why. To your typical self-proclaimed animation enthusiast, animation quality is just another way of comparing projects. Oh, my anime has 20 superstar freelancers, yours only has 5, my anime clears yours in terms of animation. Oh look, your anime fell apart behind the scenes, my anime could never. That's the mindset most modern fans have, and I cannot stress this enough, that is a stupid, counterproductive way of approaching art. Nothing good ever comes from that way of thinking. Most One Punch Man fans aren't upset about the fact that the people making their anime and by extension them are being shafted by corporate greed and mismanagement. They are upset that they won't get to, stick it to Jujutsu Kaisen fans or whatever. To them, and this applies to anime fans at large, not just the One Punch Man fanbase, to them, their show looking good means they'll get to belittle other projects that don't look as good, and their show not looking good means they won't get to do that. That's how most modern anime fans who claim to care about animation think. They can't just appreciate art and animation, they have to compare it to something else. It can't just be this animation is great, it has to be this animation is the best thing ever and it's better than this other animation. It can't just be this artist is incredible, it has to be this artist is top 3 ever and way better than these other artists. It seems like it's impossible for modern anime fans to appreciate one thing without downplaying 5 other things in the process. They can't just express their excitement over 2 high-profile anime movies in Demon Slayer and Chainsaw Man coming out in quick succession. They have to appreciate one while simultaneously downplaying the other. They have to. They'll spontaneously combust if they don't. Most modern anime fans don't interact with art, they consume it, and that's the problem. They look at art as a commodity, and if that wasn't bad enough, they look at the artists themselves as commodities instead of real, breathing human beings. As Kevin puts it, staff names are used by fans as hype points to establish the superiority of their favorite anime. That's all there is to it, and since they approach art with that flawed mindset, it's no surprise that their first reaction upon finding out who's leading One Punch Man Season 3 was to jump on Twitter and either belittle the man or dismiss his abilities altogether. Here's the thing, you cannot power scale artistry, that is a stupid thing to do. You can bicker over whether Saitama beats Goku or vice versa all you want, that's fine because guess what? They aren't real people. The outcome of 2 fictional characters having a fictional fight doesn't matter and harms no one, but treating real human beings, ones that have to put up with miserable work conditions and pay mind you, as commodities and products does. It causes a lot of harm. That mindset is also the reason why animation discourse online is usually limited to superstar animators and directors and/or high-profile IPs, because most fans don't really care about artistry, they just care about whatever the most hype thing in that space is. It's such a stupid way of going about things. Look, no one is forcing you to learn about animation, you can just shut up and not bother if that topic doesn't interest you. Power scaling artists, harassing staff members, comparing and downplaying projects for no fucking reason, none of that is necessary, but unfortunately, that behavior is extremely common these days, so much so that One Punch Man director Shinpei Nagai had to keep his identity hidden for as long as possible, something I correctly predicted a while back. He knew fans would be upset about him not being a Shingo Natsume or a Shotako Shizono, and unfortunately, based on the way fans have reacted since the announcement, he was right, he was spot on. Now, it is worth mentioning that he didn't just receive one-sided hate online. A lot of people did express their support for him and the team, but here's the thing. The reason why a lot of those people had to go out of their way to support him was because he was facing an unnatural amount of hate online. One thing led to the other. It's a shame, it really is, and I'm afraid it'll only get worse. Every time a One Punch Man Season 3 episode fails to live up to fans' expectations, which I presume will happen often, due to both the unrealistic expectations some fans have and the unnatural literally terrible production conditions the team has to face. Every time that happens, Nagai and his team will face renewed waves of harassment and mockery online. People won't look at them as human beings, they'll look at them as things that make their favorite anime. I'm glad Nagai seems to be a cheerful, down-to-earth guy who's not all that bothered by the hate online, but you have to understand that won't always be the case. Some people are more sensitive than others. Some don't care. For example, I don't give a flying f*** about negative comments and whatnot, but others do. And they didn't sign up for this shit. They have to deal with enough already. We all know how dog shit the anime industry is as a whole, let's not make it worse. Let's just watch anime, appreciate the good, critique the bad, maybe thank the staff for their efforts and call it a day. That's about it. A special thanks to Note03, Pavel and Amir for becoming tier 3 members, and until next time.